What's good? It is Sam here, and today I wanted to talk about what my ultimate stack might be for something like a SARM if I was cutting. And that's one of the most common questions that I get. This footage is probably from like 2.5 weeks ago. Um, what I would take and how I would structure something like that if I was trying to do like a 90-day get. So say vacation's coming up, or a wedding, or something where you're going to be out in an area where you're going to have your shirt off or something like that. This would be a stack that I would take. I'm not going to get into the dosages, but this would be like a stack. So I wrote out how I would structure something like this. So with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to frickin' see you. Okay, so first of all, check out the shoulders in this video. That is dope. It has been about 2 weeks of quarantine with all this craziness going on. I've been doing yoga every single day and stretches every single day to get more towards a split, so that I'm having something that I'm working on every single day, even if I'm not actually working out. And then I'm going to go into routine once the gym is back open again. So this has a foundation that's built upon training, cardio, and diet. I'm not going to touch briefly on those things, but if you don't have those pieces in place at the dosages that anybody who's going to be watching this video is going to if they were researching with, they wouldn't get. If they want to look aesthetic, if you want to look like you've got abs and lean and dry, you're that's not going to happen with SARMs. By the way, none of this is any recommendation that you take any of this shit that I'm talking about. It's just under doctor supervision for the stuff that I take, and for entertainment purposes. So if you don't have the diet in place specifically, you're not going to get the look that you want, period, unless you go with abnormally high dosage. And anytime you increase dosages, you increase the risk associated with that compound, because you're increasing the amount that you're taking. Right? If you're going to take one shot versus if you're going to take 14 shots of alcohol, like, you're going to get fucked up on 14 shots, right? But on tiny little, I think SARMs are extremely safe. So on a very small, these are not the I'm not going to even touch on the doses, but you can think of them as like in the neighborhood of what you can do some Googling, and those are the dosages that I'm going to be kind of using as a reference point in my mind as how I would be taking some of these things. And the same thing with the cardio, because the most common question that I get over on Instagram, link is down below if you guys want to ask a question. Also, I can't leave source links down below in YouTube, but if you want to jump over to Instagram, you might find what you're looking for. And if you do happen to find what you're looking for and you used an affiliate link, take a screenshot, hit me up on Instagram, and we can jump on a call if I can answer any questions for you or anything like that. But the diet and the cardio and the training all have to be pointing in the direction that you want to go. And that question that's constantly getting asked is getting leaner or getting shredded or whatever the case is. It's primarily about losing fat. And SARMs are not going to tremendously help with that. So you have to have those foundational pieces in place. And then you can start building on top of there, in my opinion. I've been researching these for 7-something years now. So assuming that you have those in place, I would start with TRT for my TRT dose, somewhere between like 175 milligrams to 225-ish milligrams a week. That's what I'm at in this video here. Assuming it was a 90-day cut, I would start with Mk677. Probably dosed twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. That's how I like to dose it. So there's an overlap. Even though you might have a 24-hour half-life, I would put probably half in the morning and then half in the evening for that. And I would only stay on the Mk677 if it's a 90-day cut for probably just over 2 months. Maybe 2 months and a week, 2 months and 2 weeks. So that way the Mk677 can drop out. You get the healing benefit and the increase in nitrogen retention through the Mk677 while you're taking that. But if you're going to be going on a trip at that 90-day mark, then I want the fluid retention or the water that I'm going to be holding while taking Mk677 to come off, so that when that 90-day mark hits, I'm ready to go. So that's why I would take it for just over 2 months, maybe 2 months and 2 weeks, probably at most. The next is cardarine, and that I would probably, I've got a lot of cardarine. I don't use it very often, but I would use that on days where I'm going to do longer cardio sessions and or workout days. Those are the only times I use it. I have a feeling I probably would not use it 5 days a week if that's what my workout schedule is like. I would only be using it a couple days a week. Let me restart this. But I would have cardarine in there as a tool to use when I felt appropriate, because a lot of this is going to be based upon your intuition and what you're obviously trying to achieve, but what you're feeling in the sense of that. So, and I'm going to get on that in a second. The next, I'd actually rotate. I wouldn't pick one specific compound to go with throughout the duration. I would actually rotate between, say, RAD, S23, and S4. They're kind of similar in a lot of ways from the look standpoint, where RAD, I don't get a full feeling. I almost get a slightly depleted looking feeling with RAD a lot of the times. You get a hard look. You get a very, you look very good. I look very good when I have the RAD, when I'm taking RAD, but it's almost, my muscle bellies are just not as full. I look nice and vascular a lot of times, and I look very hard, like it pulls some of the sub-Q water out from under my skin, but it's not anything like S4. So RAD, S23, and S4. S4 is where I notice the biggest effect from an aesthetic standpoint. So as I rotate through these things, I probably rotate on a weekly basis, like intra-week basis, meaning the compounds I would change up during the week. So say if it was RAD, S23, S4, then I'd start back over RAD again. This way the compounds can rotate through my system, and I would not, or maybe do something where I'd have RAD and S23 Monday through Friday on workout days and S4 on the weekends. That might be like the second half or the last month. I might do something like that, but more than likely for the first month to 2 months, I would only be taking SARMs 5 days a week. And those 5 days a week is because most SARMs have very short half-lives. And by taking the last dose on a Friday afternoon, right? So say I take it at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon before I go work out. Then I have from Friday afternoon until Saturday afternoon at 3, till Sunday afternoon at 3, till Monday afternoon at 3 when I lift again. So I've got 3 full days for these compounds to get out of my system and not me build up any type of tolerance to them, just like you would if you were to drink every day or if you were smoking weed every day. Like, you build up a tolerance to these things. So there's 2 ways that I handle that, is by constantly switching compounds up, as in, you know, RAD, S23, S4, but also not taking them for 3 days, right? So from Friday afternoon till Monday afternoon, I haven't had any SARMs. I would continue the TRT. I would do just the same as I'm doing now, where I do daily injections of the TRT on there. The YK11 from another growth pathway, because it doesn't just affect the androgen receptors, it also appears to affect follistatin. And follistatin is going to be another pathway in there, right? So we've got the androgen receptor, we've got the testosterone base, we have androgens with the SARMs. Now we'd add in a YK11, and YK11 I'd probably only do 3 days a week, at least this time in my life, just because my right knee is bothering me, and some people get reports of um, joint like dryness or joint, but it's probably more than likely because the muscles are growing so quickly. So if my knee, by the time we get out of this quarantine, is not feeling better from the additional yoga and stretching, then I would probably only do it 3 days a week. If my knee was feeling better, or if I didn't have any issues with my knee, I'd probably maybe I might go up to 5 days a week with that, but I feel like 3 would be decent for me. And most of these compounds, other than the Mk677, I would take pre-workout. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the RAD for me, for whatever reason, I almost feel slightly depleted and my muscle belly is not as full of a look. So every once in a while, just to help with that feeling and change up the compounds, I'd probably add in RAD. I'm sorry, LGD like once a week or once every 2 weeks or something, depending on how I was feeling and how I was looking. I might add in the LGD on that progress. Now, on the training, cardio, and diet front standpoint, you do the same thing where there's a constant rotation so that you're never in a state of homeostasis, and the cardio is always changing in some type of progressive overload. The training is doing the same thing, and the diet is same thing where you substitute. So week one, right, you might have your diet's this, and one of those things in your diet can be switched out for something that just has a little bit less calories, while at the same time, week number two, you could switch out something else in your diet where the macros or the protein is going to stay the same, but the other two, the fat and carbohydrates, are going to change. Now, generally speaking, you want to keep a certain amount of fat in there. Everybody's a little bit different, but generally speaking, maybe 10 to 15%, maybe 5 if you want really, really low on the fat, depending on how many total calories you're taking. But in this, I'm probably about 230 something pounds in this video here. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know down below in the comment section. Appreciate your input and questions. I'm happy to talk about them in my experience. Please don't forget to jump over to Instagram and say what's good.